issues centers on health, education, human capital, and poverty, though human capital encompasses health and education. And of course, lack of it is the direct consequence of poverty. And I believe that the issues we're discussing is the foundation of the Human Development Index, which again is measured on 3 critical areas of life expectancy, where Nigeria is 55 years, while the global average is 72.8. And of course, in human capital, the last measure that I know published by World Bank in 2018 were 152 over 157. And the poverty, you mentioned it yourself, we're 133. And cumulatively, the Human Development Index were 163 over 191. And this situation, like you mentioned, is unacceptable and calls for one thing, the Great Escape. As mentioned by Nobel Prize winner in 2015 in economics, Angus Deaton of Princeton. The difference between rich and poor nation is health and education. So how do you tackle this? You tackle it by investing in this critical area. And that's what I would do if I have the opportunity of serving.
The federal government has blamed the subnationals, that is the state government, for the state of poverty in Nigeria. What will you do to reverse this trend of stifling of local government funds, which has contributed to the level of poverty and insecurity in the country? Mr. Peter Obi, please.
Because if you look at what is today causing the poverty level that we have, you first have to look at the issue of security, which is federal government. Issue of physical viability and everything, which is federal government. Most of the things that are causing it today reside on the purview of federal government. And I'm going to deal with it on issue of managing local government resources. I managed it for 8 years. And what I always tell people, go and see how we managed to work with the state and local government to be able to effectively use the resources in area of education, in area of primary health care, and other development areas. And that is what we will continue. But the major cause of poverty in Nigeria is issues that reside with federal government. It is the federal government that will revise the productivity by first, if the country is properly secured, you return confidence in investors, both local and this. If you bring appropriate measures to have conducive environment, regulated environment that investors can come in and everything. So I think it resides on federal government.
Yeah, my question goes to Mr. Peter Obi. Sir, you just explained how you were able to work harmoniously with the local government areas to ensure even development in the states. How do you intend to ensure that state governors do your part so that there will be even development? I ask this because if you succeed at the federal, but states remain backward, the buck will still fall on your table. Thank you.
I want to talk about the issue of strike, where ASU, which was formed in 1978, have gone for strike action for more than 33 times. And in these 33 times, in an average, it has been there for, the strike have lasted for more than 6 months, you know. Now, how are you going to address this issue of ASU strike? Are you going to privatize the universities, or are you going to adhere to the 2009 agreement, you know, that the federal government entered with ASU? Thank you.
Before the National Assembly, there is an executive bill to institutionalize SIPs. Before we had SIPs, we had Shopee. Now, these are programs that have been designed to address poverty. What are you going to sustain this? Do you think it has addressed poverty? And if no, what will you do? What will your program be? How will you design your program? Tell us about that.
Let's focus on the last question, which had to do with poverty. And I think that question was directed at you, Peter Obi.
The federal government must work seamlessly with the subnational. In fact, one of the things that have made us to fail in Millennium Development Goals is that we were not able to streamline that process into our development agenda, starting from the local, subnational, and national. So for us to have any meaningful development, that is why even in the Constitution, there's what you call Economic Council, which means every month, which is supposed to be the states and federal, because they're supposed to move simultaneously and seamlessly in development. And that I can assure you, I will do. I've said it that I will be at the center, ensuring that you communicate and deal with all the states. On issue of education and arts, first is that tertiary education. The most critical...
I think, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that's a question that will come later. I think they just kind of threw it up. We want to get through with all the poverty questions, and then we'll change to education and healthcare and all the rest of it.
On the issue of the poverty one, which is SIPs and Shopee, which is mentioned, SIPs and Shopee before it and everything, quite frankly, to deal with the issue of poverty, I believe the government is involved a lot. The issue of dealing with poverty, the government fiscal position have to be clearly designed and spelled out, while execution should be directed. For example, if we're talking about agriculture, we don't need to start the programs running with the government. We have Bank of Agriculture. I will resuscitate the Bank of Agriculture in Kaduna and ensure that they in turn support the farmers when it comes to issue of ensuring access to funding to deal with that issue. Other agencies that are designed that will deal with the issue of ensuring either issue to do with crops, issue to do with land maintain, there's a lot you need to do. If there's no one process. Issue of dealing with, for example, issue of dealing with small, medium, micro, small businesses. All you need to do is to resuscitate. We used to have all the micro banks, community banks, and everything.
You've got about 30 seconds.
And make them to function. If you make them to function effectively, having a percentage of our lending go to this particular sector, and then physical support. You have to look at what we have been able to do so far in education at the federal and state level, but talking about the federal level now, our investment in education is low compared to even comparable countries. If you look at it, let me just use 2016 to date, 6 years, to 2021. Our investment, our total investment in budget in education at the federal level is about 3.6 trillion, just 3,550 billion. That's our investment for 6 years. That is not up to South African, which is second biggest economy, or about the same for 1 year. In 2020, their budget for education was 380 billion rands. If you convert these two, you will see the difference. So you need to invest more. And if you look at their own, it was about between 14 and 16%. All throughout these 6 years, our budget is not up to 10% in education. There's no way that can happen with the pool of people we have out of school. For me, Nigeria can design their budget differently. If we work hard in this country, I believe Nigeria can, if they pluck all revenues, be able to get a revenue of about 15 trillion annually. And if they are borrowing, not throwing away to subsidy and other areas and curtailing cost of governance, they borrow about maybe another 10 trillion. You need about 25 trillion budget to start with. And 10% of that should go to education. Today, when the ASU was on strike, the last strike, Anambra State University was among the few universities that were not on strike. And they said it was because of the way I handled and what I did with them and in the past that made them to be like that. But overall, the funding of tertiary institutions in Nigeria needs to be restructured. It needs to bring a lot of mix where government will contribute. We have some deductions from private sector. Who needs these products? Who contribute? And bring issue of loans and everything. It's not something that I think federal government can continue funding the way they are funding it. What they need now is to go back to the agreement, clear the backlogs, and then design a sustainable funding mechanism, which is very easy. It's happened. We learn from what is happening in other countries of the world.
I think we tend to focus on the higher education, and we tend to a crisis in the lower segment, the primary and secondary school. And secondary schools. It seems to me that the deterioration in our education system, or the crisis, is more pronounced there, and the decline is proportionate to the growth of privately owned schools. And right now, there's hardly any elite that sends their children to the public schools. So what you have now is that the public schools that feed the higher institutions of learning are in crisis. The quality is so low that when they feed the higher education system, the quality of the graduates themselves are also quite low. So my question is, how are you going to address the imbalance where, for example, people in nurseries, in private schools pay higher tuition than postgraduate and graduate students in public-owned universities? How are you going to revert the decline in the public education system, especially at the lower levels?
Education is among the three measurements of HDI is most critical because, like I say, it's the driver of the other ones. And when you talk about the education, you talk about basic education. And when we say our education is in crisis today, it is that basic education. Even when you talk about out-of-school children in the north, the 20 million out-of-school children, which 60%, if you look at it, is women, which we need to deal with urgently in order to bring that sector back to them. What you need to do, apart from having increased investment, like I said, in education, is to also have increased supervision and ensuring that the resources are well utilized, working in partnership with the states and local governments. Because when you talk about out-of-school children in the north, these are children who have learned Quran. If they can learn Quran, that means they're intelligent. I will meet them at where they are learning Quran and teach them skill. With that, you'll be able to. As for what we are going to do in education, all I can tell anybody is go and see what we did with the primary school and secondary schools in Anambra State. In fact, in Anambra State, people prefer to put their children in public school rather than private school. I went to Christ, let me use my secondary school, Christ the King College. People queue up now to be able to go be admitted there.
You talked about, we've not addressed the main issue that we are facing today, which is abduction of students. Schools are no longer safe. People go to school and will not return to their homes. Teachers go to schools and will not return to their homes. How would you address this challenge? Because we've seen It is happening in the universities, it is happening in nursery schools, it is happening in secondary schools.
Today we have issues with food security because our farmers cannot go to farms. The same thing goes all over. There's the issue of insecurity, and everything is to, again, see how we can review and restructure our entire security architecture, which includes increasing the number of personnel, equipping them and training them properly, having a multi-level policing on the police side, local government to state, to national level, as well as aggressively and simultaneously pulling people out of poverty. Because this poverty still have a lot to do with this. So if you don't deal with the economy and tackle it simultaneously as you're tackling insecurity, you're going to still have the same problem. You can't have 33% unemployment in a country of over 200 million people. And you will have crisis. We just said that 1.3 million people live under poverty. You're going to have crisis. You need to start reducing that number. That is what you need to do in order to secure the country.
Horrible stories about the lack of proper treatment in Nigeria. The poor, who constitute the majority in this country, having to deal with whatever medical facilities they can get their hands on, whilst the rich are traveling out of the country on medical tourism. How would you resolve that issue?
First, you need to increase the investment we have today in healthcare. Again, let me give you an analysis. Like I said, in education, it's very low. Our total budget in the past 6 years for health is about 250 billion naira. That is totally, for a country of 200 million people, that's totally unacceptable. Especially when you need to deal with the issue of primary health care, and especially in the north, where we now have, now we've passed India, a country of 1.4 billion in infant mortality. And the reason why we passed them is because of the situation we find ourselves in the north. Because of not investing in education and not in training, we can't get the pregnant women and everything to follow, going to hospitals, going to this. So we need to invest in primary health care, by first increase funding, invest in primary health care, invest in training the manpower. There's no reason why we should not have, especially now, nurses and midwives are needed all over the world. There's no reason why you should not have school of nursing or midwifery in every local government and be able to train the manpower that is required for this and all that. For the, what I can call the secondary medical care, what you need is insurance. We need to find insurance like other countries, big countries like us have done it. Example is what is happening in Indonesia. There are about 260 million. We can copy what they are doing. There's a way they structure their insurance that the rich can pay, the poor can pay, and everything cumulatively. Everybody have a health care which is covered.
It is believed that Nigerian leaders do not have faith in Nigeria's healthcare system, and so they abandon it. Can you pledge today to Nigerians watching from around the globe that you would be transparent, one, with your healthcare status, and pledge to Nigerians that you will prioritize the healthcare system in the country and perhaps use them?
Those who are aspiring to lead should be able to make available and openly their medical and health status to the public. And two, I have served as a governor. You can go ask if while serving as a governor, I resuscitated some facilities and I used them. And I still use them today. But I believe that if there's issue of referral from them to anybody beyond here, that is a referral from them that they cannot do it. Because it happens everywhere in the world. I will not say everybody must be restricted here if there is. For my own position, I use the facilities there. And I believe in them, and I can tell you they're very competent. All we need is to support it. I've said how we can use insurance to show that everybody can be cared for.
In Nigerian health experts are leaving the country in droves. Many doctors, many nurses are leaving Nigeria because of the current situation. I'd like to know what specific policy will you put in place to rebrand the health system and also encourage those who have left to come back and practice in Nigeria?
The idea is to do massive training of doctors, nurses, and everything, those who can leave, those who can stay here. But the most important is that you need to increase the investment in the healthcare sector. Like I said before, it is too low, it's unacceptable. You need to have at least 10% of your budget. The overall budget is already low, but if I have opportunity of explaining how I'm going to increase the budget and have at least 10%. Today, look at it, 10 years. If I just show you 6 years, our total budget is 2,247 billion. Just call it to about 2.3. So that is a 1 year budget for this size of this country. It won't even be enough. And I make sure that it's properly invested. When you come to the issue of insurance, there's a way you structure it that the government will also contribute. These are areas where you have to do subsidy, not in petroleum consumption. There's areas where government do subsidy, and it's in productive and development areas that are critical, like health, education, fighting poverty. These are areas you need to invest. So there needs to be a fiscal package to support this in order to support the insurance and everything, which will allow them to treat from high to low. It's been done in Indonesia, it's been done partly in India. I can show you big nations that are practicing it. We don't need to invent the wheel. We just have to learn what is being practiced somewhere and do the same thing.
Human capital. And of course, human capital is all about the knowledge, skills that people accumulate throughout their lives and which helps them to realize their potential as productive members of society. Examples of human capital include communication skills, education, technical skills, creativity, experience, problem-solving skills, mental health, and personal resilience. Therefore, investment in human capital is obviously important because it helps citizens provide even greater value to their country and can help develop the economy. In a country such as Nigeria, where there are vast differences in skill set and knowledge, how do you aim to ensure human capital growth and to ensure that all Nigerian lives matter in this regard?
So human capital first, I want to show people, it's not an expense, it's an investment. Because that's what drives your development in the first place. If you invest in it, you increase per capita, which is the real measure of poverty. So for me, I have said that even if we're going to borrow money, we're going to borrow for investment. And I can show through a budget how we intend to deal with this issue in clear terms that are measurable and people can see it. So when we say we're going to put people out of poverty, we're going to state the numbers and people will see the country increase. And if I didn't have opportunity, I would have shown you using 3 countries to show you what they did with issue of human capital, how they moved their countries' HDI from low to medium to high, and how dramatically increased their per capita, which is a measure of wealth. And the same thing for Nigeria, who didn't invest, it took the other way around. And that's why you've thrown more people into poverty, where you now have more people living in multidimensional poverty than a country like India that is 7 times your size. And you have more people living in poverty. And use what they've done, and examples are bound. China, India, Vietnam have done this in something that is with effortless ease in pulling, not that it's difficult, but they've been able to show an example how you can use and methods to pull your people by investing in human capital.
How do you ensure an inclusive society? And how do you fund these developmental projects you talk about?
Restore physical viability by dealing with the issue of oil theft, the criminal subsidy we had deal with the issue of multiple exchange rates, deal with the issue of subsidies and areas of waivers and everything, and cut unacceptable cost of governance that we have today. By the time you deal with all this, you will be able to have a situation where you now have to have what you can call an implementable budget, because you now borrow money for investment, and with this investment in human capital, your economy will grow, more people will be put out of poverty, there will be more taxes, there will be more income and everything, and you then start reducing your deficit and your debt. First is to secure, unite the country, ensure that if government that is going to come into 2023 is a government of national unity that will bring in the best in terms of character and competence, irrespective of whether they support you or they don't support you, in order to save our country. Because we have an existential situation, a situation where we have this huge number of people that are living in poverty, which you need to start pulling out. Our country has not failed in the past, call it several years. And you can use other countries to show, I'll just use their country to show you how badly it was done in a matter of past few years. And that country is Bangladesh. Bangladesh, if you look at the World Bank source, in 2010, Nigeria had a per capita of $2,280. Bangladesh was $781. By 2015, Nigeria was about 2,600. Bangladesh was $1,247. Today, or 2021, Nigeria is $2,058, when Bangladesh is $2,500. Look at where we are. They were one third of our per capita in 2010. And now, they have almost tripled it, and our own has gone down by about 20%. That is what we need to deal with. We need to deal with issues we discussed this night, invest in health, in education, in pulling people out of poverty by supporting small businesses, genuinely, investing in productive section. Nigeria is not a productive country, and it has to be productive. If you look at our last quarter, just to conclude, in our last quarter, our GDP growth was 2.25%. Our money supply was about 13%. And that is, look at it, what is inflation? When your money supply is more than your growth. So you don't even have growth to be able to, for the money you're printing and throwing into the system. We need to move the country from consumption to production. Once it becomes productive, it will create labor and be able to employ people. And that's what I'm going to focus on.
If you don't know, I beg you, know this now. Tinubu is more the cause of your problem that you're going through right now. If you're a Nigerian that is living in Nigeria, Tinubu is more the cause of your problems than all of the witches and wizards and all your village people and the devil combined. Tinubu is more the cause of your problem. And the earlier you know this, the better it will be for you. Why? Because the earlier you know this, the earlier you will find the solution. And when you implement the solution, your problem will be solved. I'll prove it to you that Tinubu is the cause of your problem in this video. In fact, by the time I am done, you will agree with me that there should be a law. There should be a law that we should stop blaming witches and wizards in the village, or even the devil, for the problems that Nigerians have. We should stop it. Anybody who comes to tell you that, oh, your business is not moving, you are 40 years, you are not married, you are married for 10 years, no children, you are graduate now for 10 years, no job. In fact, the only jobs that are available, you are doing POS business. Business is not moving. You can't pay your bills. You are sick. You are afraid to go to the hospital because you don't have money to do that. The healthcare system is horrible. They say they have fixed it, but they cannot use it themselves. The politicians now. You want to travel to your village. Problem. You are afraid that you might be kidnapped, or that there might be an accident because of bad roads, or that the cost of traveling is simply too expensive, you can't afford it. Whatever the problem you are facing now, anybody that tells you that it is the devil or one altar in your village, that person should be charged to court and prosecuted and sent to jail. By the end of this video, it will be clear. These are the problems you have. You have a lady that is 40, she's not married. And then somehow somebody tells her that her problem is one old woman or one old man in her village that has vowed that over her dead body she will not get married. And somebody will even come and tell you, oh, it's the blood. You see, the grandfather of that lady, he was a very wicked man. He killed many innocent people. Now it is the blood of those people that are crying against the lady. That's why she's 40 years old and she's not married. In fact, this blood one is classic. They even say it's because of the blood, innocent blood that were shed in the civil war of the Igbos and even of the Midwesterns. So it's the innocent blood that are crying out. That is that blood that is responsible for Nigerian not progressing. They forget to tell you that the Europeans and the Americans, they shed 10 times more blood in the First World War, in the Second World War, in the American Civil War, in the French Revolution, Russian Revolution, whatever. They shed more blood. They shed more blood. 10 times more blood than was shed in Nigerian Civil War. And I'm not trying to trivialize the lives that were lost. Far from it. That's not what I'm trying to do. But I'm just trying to put things in perspective. You see, the Americans shed more blood. How come they are still progressing? In fact, they are #1 economy in the world today. How come? In one bomb that they threw in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they killed over 300,000 people. One. In the Second World War, Hitler was rumored to have killed over 20 million people. Today, Germany is the strongest economy in Europe. Why did the blood of those 20 million people that Hitler killed, why didn't he speak to stop the progress of Germany? The millions of people that the Allied forces, which one is Allied now? Which one is Axis? Okay, Allied is the West. The British, the Americans, the millions of lives that blood that they have shed. How come those blood are not speaking against them? They are still going on to develop even deadlier weapons. And their economy is growing. Their citizens are enjoying. Their country is working. Why? If it is blood that is speaking against the development of a country. Now, let's even forget looking at this thing at country level. At individual level, your business is not moving. Instead of thinking, why is it not working? You now believe somebody that tells you that it is one witch in your village, and you need to do fasting and prayer, and you need to make some sacrifice. You believe them and you do it. Has your business started moving now? Why is the business not moving? Business is not moving for business people. Business is slowing down in Nigeria. Why? Tinubu's policies. Simple. Many of you pride yourself. You say, oh, I don't want to get involved in politics. I don't want to get involved in politics. Politics will get involved with you. If you like, run. Say your own is entertainment. If you like, run. Say your own is education. Oh, you are a traditional person. You just like to face your own tribe. You are an educationist. You are a media. You are a business person. You just want to face your business. You don't want anything to do with politics. My brother, my sister, government policies are deadlier than any devil, any witches, any wizard can be. The reason why your business is not moving is because of the policies of government that has reduced the purchasing power of people. And so they don't have money to buy. Normally, some of you business people, you refuse to get involved in politics because you feel somehow it not concern you. If things hard, you go just add money for your product or your service, for your goods, you go just increase the money. It not concern you. But now you don't say, when you increase the money and people not get money to buy, you go they look your goods go they look you. Abi, now you can't dey complain, say business dey slow. Instead, where you go turn, look, say, why government policy be like this? Where they make my business to slow down. You can't dey believe one person where they tell you, say, now one person for your village, now they're responsible. And you know, this thing is very, very painful when you consider that the people that think like this, they are educated, some of them up to doctor level. But today, I'm here to cancel that. Your business can boom if we have a government that has the right policy. Many times you think that we just want to criticize Tinubu for the sake of criticizing him. No. Tinubu represents a group of people that, in my opinion, are being blackmailed to implement policies that will make Nigeria a slave. How will Nigeria be a slave in this 21st century? Anytime Nigeria is a consumption economy, in fact, any consumption economy, go and check it, they are slave economies. They will force you to borrow. Have you forgotten? They say that the borrower is a servant to the lender. So if we are always borrowing, are we not a slave to the people from whom we borrow? They will tell us borrow. And then they will now give us a form of democracy that has been weaponized so that the system is rigged to favor only corrupt people, people that can be manipulated, people that can be blackmailed. And once that system is in place, they will now give you a system that allows for licensed critic. So if we are going to have solution to all of the problems of Nigeria, now to change government too, and the only part to that is to make sure that we force free and fair election on INEC in 2027. Forget all this story where they tell you. Imagine, even Tinubu said, they give speech, they talk, say, I am charging you, INEC, to give us free and fair election. I am charging you to maintain the integrity. Even Tinubu said, they talk. Even the new INEC chairman, Amukwito, they make promises. They don't talk now, say they want to do one AI-powered tab. AI. You know, when they first come, they go do some gra-gra. Man, I not they carried away with all these things when even INEC they talk. Because when Mahmoud first come in 2019, now the thing when he do, he first come, talk saying they bring beavers, and they bring IREV, or they go submit the result. And the first election where they first do, that was Edo election, if you not remember when I go check. That election, everybody begin hail am. Now that one night, Obaseki take win. Everybody come they happy, say yes. They defeat incumbent. That time, Obaseki, they for PDP. And then, go. And then Buhari be president. They can say, the thing work well. Wonderful. We don't know, say, that one a preamble. Distraction. Something will go distract us. After that one, what do we see? The election started going down the line under the same Mahmoud Yakubu. Election will be say litigation don't drop to less than 44%. Now, as Mahmoud Yakubu leave, thing don't rise. Litigation don't go 86%. Which means there's really no need for the election. Therefore, just say make court decide who go be the elected officials. Now, Amuku Togoron come. They give us Lamba, AI-powered tab, beavers. Now go for. They want test them now. I can guarantee you that in Anambra election, they will give you something that looks like not true. Say Soludo na go win. Then you can say, this new INEC chairman, he try yo. He bring AI power tab. Now see as everything work. Other one waiting. Lamba. Wait until 2027. If we are going to have free and fair elections in Nigeria, we cannot rely solely and only on INEC. We must have our own people-powered solution. We say now we go do and we don't need to depend on INEC for it. And we get them. PU Marshal go check INEC Sha. He go check Tinubu. They don't want to hear them. So they go to make caricature of PU Marshal now. But they go hear them. They don't want to hear them. They must hear them. They must hear them. 2027 they go hear them. So the long and short of when I talk be this. Tinubu is the cause or the source of your problem. Not be witch, not be wizard. Now Tinubu, they do you. And if you want your problem to be solved, whatever the problem is, whether health, marital, relationship, business, spiritual, whatever the problem is, if you want solution, you must make sure, say, Tinubu and APC come out for 2027. And the only way to do that one, because as you see Tinubu and APC, I not think, say, they won't give any chance for free and fair election. They don't say free and fair election, they don't get chance now. All the signs are there saying are rigging, but you see, we get hope. We get solution. The solution are PU Marshal and Vote Watch. And we need you to volunteer. If you are a sincere Nigerian, you are a honest Nigerian. We don't need everybody. The people where they benefit from the corruption under Tinubu, they're not going to want to make the corruption change. They go want to continue to enjoy that corruption so that they go use the corrupt gotten wealth to buy new car, buy new house, oppress you very well. And it's what they want with that. They not care, say, 99% of the populations are suffering. Now only 1% they enjoy. You not consign them. And that 1% plenty. That's like 2 million. Imagine, say, 2 million people, they buy house, they buy car. You will give the illusion, say, people, they enjoy now. Money, they in Nigeria now. But an illusion. 219 million people, they somewhere, they suffer. This solution not be for those people. But if you know, say, you be genuine Nigerian, you want me Nigeria really work. You want Nigeria, because many of us now don't even know how Nigeria go fit a work. We don't even know what it means to say we want a Nigeria that works. A Nigeria that works now, Nigeria will be say impunity all day. You don't need to know any big man before you get justice. You don't need to know any big man before you get work. You don't need to know any big man before you live good life. Now, so you did today. Today now you must know big corrupt politician, either as Olosho or as a political puppet, for you to live a good life. Whether you are a business person or whether you are in private or government official, it doesn't matter. All the schools for Abuja, who be the people they pay the big school fees? Who be the people who get money to pay 5 million naira per term for one pikin? If not the person who don't thief government money. So at the end of the day, all of these people no go want talk because they are benefiting from the corruption in the system. You see comedian where they do show, he put table there, 10 million naira. Now, who want pay 10 million naira for one table? Now, people will be say they don't thief government money or that they work for people who don't thief government money. Now, only them you pay that kind of money. So you don't go expect those comedians to come make the system change now. You don't go pay them. So this message is not for everybody. But if you did there, you want Nigeria where be say you don't need to know anybody to get justice. Make everything, make the system they work. We need to show them, say, the government is the people. And you need to volunteer as a polling unit marshal. Now only 600,000 now we need. The link is in the description. I believe very strongly, say 2027, forget. A new Nigeria is possible. You get it? If you don't get it, forget about it.